You ever have one of those mornings where you wake up thinking you're living in America, home of the free, and then the next thing you know, there's a bunch of guys in knockoff uniforms on your porch trying to evict you from your own land? Yeah, that actually happened to me. Not in some movie, not a nightmare, but right here in my kitchen. Coffee, barely brewed, when I saw three men marching up like they owned the place, their boots pounding out a rhythm that didn't sound like any neighborly visit I've ever had. No logos, no names, just dark blue uniforms and those shiny empty badges that scream wannabe authority, except their eyes said something meaner like they'd done this before. The guy out front taps on my screen door, cool as a cucumber, and asks if I'm the owner of Parcel 48 like I'm supposed to know my home by some bureaucratic code instead of the stories buried in the dirt. I'm standing there barefoot and confused when he launches into a speech about compliance, zoning violations, fencing that's supposedly illegal, you name it, throwing around words that sound real official when you've got two guys flanking you like they're bouncers at the world's saddest nightclub. I try to explain this land's been in my family since before sliced bread. There's no HOA, no zoning board that I know of, but they just keep at it stone-faced until the tall one leans in and drops the real threat. We know your husband's still deployed. That right there, that's the moment the ground falls out from under you. You know what I mean? I don't flinch, but my heart's racing and steady because I'm stubborn like that. But inside, I'm screaming. They hand me an envelope, 30 days to vacate the southern acreage, or else and saunter back to their blacked-out SUV. No plates, no hint of humanity, leaving me standing in the doorway, feeling like a ghost in my own house. Let me back up a sec. This isn't the first time someone's tried to steal what my family built. When I was a kid, my dad lost everything to some foreclosure scam. I remember the way he looked pale as the kitchen wall hand shaking so bad, I thought he'd drop the pen before he signed us out of our home. Maybe that's why I sat down on my kitchen floor for 10 minutes straight, just letting the shock settle. Because I knew this wasn't about fences or paperwork. It was about fear, about power, and about hoping no one would show up to fight back. So I called the sheriff thinking, maybe the law still means something. He sighs so deep, I can hear the disappointment in every syllable. He tells me, yeah, those guys have been all over the county. It's a gray area. They're using emergency zoning laws to spook landowners into giving up what's theirs. Basically, if you don't stand up, you're out. The rest of the day, I'm a mess walking the property, checking fences, digging out every document I can find, just trying to convince myself there's some safety in paper. I text my husband, Jack. He's a Navy SEAL, supposed to be untouchable, but right then he's oceans away, and the only thing I get back are those stupid 3 dots that disappear without a word. The next day, new flags show up in my southern field, pink and orange, pending public use. And that's when Gary rolls up, my neighbor, who's a little wild in the head but always means well, wearing camo shorts, Crocs, and a GoPro strapped on, like he's filming a wildlife special. You seen those flags? He grins, and for once I'm actually grateful for his paranoia. He tells me he saw trucks and drones in the night, and I laugh, but not because it's funny. Even the crazy ones are seeing things now. That night, sleep is impossible. I keep hearing things, quiet footsteps on the porch. Gravel shifting, a door creaking. So I pull out the emergency phone Jack left behind and whisper, they're here. They think I'm alone. No answer, just silence. Then suddenly the front door opens, and there's Jack Boots, muddy eyes, sharp, scanning the room like he's on a mission. He doesn't say anything, just checks the gun cabinet, the windows, then finally asks, "Where's your rifle?" I point, and he racks it gentle but sure, then sits me down and says, "Tell me everything." So I do every fake violation, every threat, every weird look, and I watch his jaw tighten. He reads the envelope and shakes his head. It's all intimidation. They're banking on you folding. I try to joke, but my voice cracks. I haven't slept. Haven't cried, just kept moving. If I cry, they win. If you see me crack, you'll never go back to sleep, I tell him. He just nods and says, we prep tomorrow. By morning, Jack's reinforcing the gate and Gary is out there buzzing his drone over the field. But then things get ugly, real ugly. I walk out and find a rabbit skinned and nailed to the fence, blood. Still wet, eyes gone, and a note that says, leave or more will die. I gag his step back and find another stake with a plastic note. Jack kneels beside it, examines it like a crime scene, says, this isn't about land, it's about sending a message. That's when I realize they don't just want the property, they want us broken. And then it escalates. The barn goes up in flames one night. No warning, no sirens, just a wall of fire that eats everything my family ever worked for. I'm halfway to the door when Jack tackles me in the dirt, yelling, you go in. I lose you too. The propane tank explodes, the whole sky flashes white, and Gary stumbles out, still holding his drone remote face gray. They did it. He gasps, and it hits me. This isn't intimidation anymore. It's war. After that, things change. We fortify the house, install sensors and cameras, turn the living room into a map-strewn command post. Gary sets up his surveillance HQ in my laundry room, which is just a bunch of GoPros on broom handles and a baby monitor taped to the wall. I find myself digging trenches for motion sensors, sweat soaking my shirt, but for the first time in weeks, I feel almost alive. We set a trap list, the property online as for sale, bait for the fraudsters' cameras, hidden in every angle. Sure enough, they bite a shell company. Same folks behind all the scams. They show up again, 3 men, 1 woman in a sharp suit, all business. Jack and I step out of the trees when they cross the sensor lines. You're trespassing. You're on camera, I say, and watch her smile falter. Jack hands her a folder, records fake deeds, forged signatures. I toss a flash drive in the dirt, every bit of evidence public. One of her guys cracks and walks away, mumbling about not signing up for this. She threatens lawsuits, but her hands are shaking. You'll be resigning in court, I tell her, and this time they leave fast. You'd think that was the end, right? Nope. That night, a box shows up on my porch. No label, just a photo of me. Jack and Gary standing at the gate, smiling. On the back in red, next time we don't knock. And beneath it a blank key, smooth cold and heavy as a threat. For a while, things are quiet, almost too quiet. Jack rebuilds the barn with steel. Gary packs up his sensors, but I keep my boots by the door. The sheriff swings by, leans on the hood of his cruiser, and says, you know what folks call you now, the line no one wants to cross. He tips his hat, but I know what he means. You don't win by scaring off bullies, you win by making sure they know you'll never back down no matter how many times they come at you. Some mornings I catch myself just standing at the fence, coffee cold, waiting for that next orange steak to pop up. Because that's the thing about land, it remembers what you fight for, what you build, what you almost lose. The peace never really comes back, but neither does the fear. So, let me ask you, what would you do if someone tried to erase your story from the map? Would you fight or would you walk away? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this country runs on folks willing to stand their ground even when the law's asleep at the wheel. And if you ever find a blank key on your doorstep, well, just make sure you know what you're willing to defend.